it is always a delight to be a part of these webinars. So I served in South Africa, and in 2007 to 2009, and my journey back to the United States was I went through a lot of the struggles that people who have been evacuated are going through, but there was, you know, different time and different place. And I started getting involved in career consulting because I realized that especially people who wanted to do work in the international development and social impact fields didn't always have good career advice. And so I'm really coming from a background of working with people who want to make a difference in the world. And that's not to say that I don't work with people who are, you know, just interested in finding a job where they can pay the bills and basically, you know, just do the 9-to-5 thing. I have worked a lot with people interested in that as well, but that's really my focus is to help people who want to make a difference to get placed in positions where they can make their greatest impact. So what I'm going to be talking about is actually really good advice for everybody, but we often, if we want to make a difference, we often don't take control of our job search. And so those are some things that I really want us to change. And so basically what this webinar is going to teach you is what are the aspects that are important so that you have a lot more agency and a lot more control in looking for work and getting a job. And at the same time that you have some action steps that you can take as soon as you get off of this webinar that will help you to do that. And so, so what I have found doing these webinars is that I can get very distracted by chats. So I don't always look to see what people are speaking or saying in the chat, although there are some specific times when I'm going to ask you questions, and I really invite your participation. I found that the more you that you think about some of these questions, the easier it is to kind of understand the material. And like I said, Dan is going to be, he'll be monitoring the chat, and if there are questions that make sense for me to answer during the moment, then he'll ask those questions, and otherwise we'll just we'll have some time at the end. So again, I'm very excited to get started, so let's do that. So what I want to start out with is just asking everybody who is actively looking for jobs, what are you currently doing? So what are the steps that you're taking? If you were, you know, making a plan for what you're going to do today for finding a job, what would that be? So just write some things. So this is a moment where I am going to be looking at the chat. So for everyone who's looking for a job currently, what are you doing? How are you doing that? So we've got some job boards, USA Jobs, Idealist, Indeed. So any other strategies, anything that people are doing, giving up that actually is an action. and so we'll talk a little bit about that. We've got career links, LinkedIn, networking with fellow RPCVs. Great, yep. Attend the webinars. Here's a good action step, reaching out to contact, hitting dead ends. Okay, we're gonna talk about a lot of this. And so basically what I'm seeing is pretty common is job boards and networking, and then we've got some volunteering. So so let's talk just really briefly about what are common activities that give you from the least to the most control. And so what we've found is that if you are responding to job postings, if you're on job boards, USA Jobs, Indeed, LinkedIn, that actually gives you the least amount of control in the job search. You are responding to what's out there. You are then applying for those jobs and then waiting for things to come back. And so even though you can do a whole lot with this, it doesn't automatically give you a lot of opportunities to talk to people and to actually find strategies to make some actual steps toward getting a job. It's all in someone else's hands. Another strategy that people don't do very often, and I actually don't blame you because I wouldn't want to do this, but it does give you a little bit more control. And some people, and like what color is your parachute, some classic advice is to instead of looking for job postings, that you actually call or make a connection with someone at a company that you want to work for and ask if they have any job leads. And so this gives you a little bit more control. You're not just responding to what's out there, but you're digging a little deeper. You're seeing if there might be something that you're missing. And one of the reasons why this gives you a little bit more control and a little bit greater opportunity of getting a job is because over 50%, and I've seen estimates that are well over 50% of jobs that are filled are actually never posted. So this is the hidden job market. And so these are jobs that are pretty much are filled through a network, through word of mouth. And so just to kind of plant some seeds that if you are just looking at job boards, you're only seeing a fraction of the jobs that are actually being filled right now. So then networking is something that I'm very happy to see that people are doing. And that this is not necessarily a direct way to get a job, but this does help you to identify opportunities and leads that you might not have been able to do so otherwise. And also, when you're networking, when you're talking to people that you know or that you want to know, then you are able to kind of set the agenda, you're able to ask questions, you're able to talk to people rather than just communicate over cyberspace. And so this gives you a little bit more that work that you can do that can lead to a job. And then probably the one that gives you the most agency or the most control is to design a job that you want to do and then talk to people talk to people that you want to work for and see if there's a room for you. Now, this is kind of advanced job search strategy, but in some ways, this is what we're going to be working toward, is for you to get clarity about what you want to do and to identify the organizations you want to work for and then find ways so that they can see what you've done and what you want to do, how you can add value to them, and in that way get hired. So basically what I'm hoping to get you to move toward is an understanding that there's always something that you can do. So if you've just been applying for jobs and have been getting rejected, if you've been reaching out to people and you're not able to get any feedback from them or aren't able to actually schedule some time with them to have a conversation, then we want to give you some other ideas of what you can do. Okay, so let's look at what gives you more control. So we talked about some job search strategies, but here's some other components that allow you to drive your job search a little bit better. And so knowing what you want to do. So this is sometimes difficult for people to understand how helpful it is for you to know what you want to do rather than just apply for what's out there and to know what you can do. And however, this is really foundational in not only getting a job, but getting a job where you're going to really succeed at. So we'll talk a little bit more about how to do that. The other thing is to identify and then prioritize the organizations that you actually want to work for. And so this starts to, one of the reasons why this is really helpful is because these organizations, you've already determined that there's a fit in values or in substance. And so then you are going to be a much better candidate than probably 50% of the applicants that they receive that are just applying to apply. So, and also you kind of make those organizations feel a little special. If you're targeting them, if you're saying you are the organization I really want to work for, especially if it is a smaller or lesser known organization. And then to build relationships within those organizations. And so finally, following up. And so often when people are kind of, you know what you want to do, you're focusing your job search on organizations you want to work for, you're networking, you're talking to people, and then you kind of feel like you've done everything that you can do. What do you do now? Following up is actually a really powerful strategy of going back to the people maybe once a month, once every 2 months, and just saying, hey, I just want to let you know, still interested in your organization, still looking for work. Let me know if there's anything that has come up that I might be a good candidate for. And so by seeing this as kind of a cycle, especially like points 3 and 4, building relationships and following up. Those are actions that you can continue to take, even if you're not seeing any jobs that you want to apply for, that will eventually lead you to some leads that you might not have known about otherwise. Okay, so knowing what you want to do. So some people, this is super clear. Other people don't really see this as a priority or don't really know quite how to do this. And so I asked before, like, why is this important? How does this give you control? One of the things that I really want to encourage you to do is move beyond responding to what's out there and trying to fit yourself into a box of, can I do this job? Is to start with, this is what I want to do. Who is hiring people like me? And this again helps you to focus in on the jobs that you're more likely to get hired for, because the things that you want to do are hopefully things that either you're good at already or that you have the energy and the resources to learn on the job. So you're going to last longer, you're going to be more successful. And just a couple of things to add on to this is that people hiring is actually a very risky business. And what I mean by that is it takes a lot of energy to hire somebody. It takes a lot of energy and resources to train that person. And if that person isn't very good, it takes a lot of energy and resources to either get that person good or to build the case to let them go. And then you have to start all over again. And so hiring managers and organizations are looking for ways to mitigate the risk. So if you can talk to people and say, this is why I'll be good, because this is what I enjoy doing. And if you've got some people who have seen your work before who are advocating for you, then you've got a lot more going for you than somebody who is just applying and says, you know, I can program computers versus I love programming computers. The person who loves programming computers, for example, is going to most likely be a much better employer than employee than someone who knows how to do it but doesn't have much enthusiasm. So, and then also that starts to shape your thinking about the job search. And so again, where you're really looking for organizations and job that fit you versus the jobs that you can do if you twist yourself into a pretzel. So, but how do you know what you want to do? You start by knowing yourself. Personality preferences. So like Myers-Briggs, there's a lot of different assessments out there that can help you to understand what are you good at, what do you enjoy, what are your innate strengths, and then what are you passionate about? Where are your values? So what are you interested in? What do you enjoy doing? And then the kind of impact you want to have. What kind of contribution do you want to make? And all of these really should be tied into, should overlap with each other. So the things that you're naturally good at are often things that you enjoy doing and that you want to have an impact using those kinds of skills and abilities. And so by doing some of this self-reflection and really getting clear about what you want to do, this is building the foundation not only for your next job, but for your future. And so let's talk about how you can, some other ways that you can do that. So you can, do some reflecting, some assessments, and then you can just pay attention. What are the things that you do on a day-to-day basis? What have you done before in Peace Corps? What have you done in previous jobs? What have you done during school that you've enjoyed the most? And so that's what you really want to start building your future on. So one of the activities that really, really helps people figure this out or translate some of these disparate ideas. Like I like working with people and I like building things. So how does that translate into a job? And so if you create a job description based on what you want, then that helps guide you toward what jobs that are out there are going to be a good fit for you. And so I want you to think about what are the tasks and duties that you want to do on a day-to-day basis. How do you want to spend your time? Do you want to spend it in front of a computer? Do you want to spend it talking to people? Do you want to spend it counseling? Do you want to spend it building things? What would make you happy to do on a day-to-day basis? Now, obviously, there are some things that it's really hard to get paid for. It's really hard to get paid for eating ice cream, for example. And so obviously you want to make this a professional set of things that you want to do on a day-to-day basis, but to really kind of think through that. And then you can look at job postings and see what aspects of these particular jobs are the most interesting to me. And you'll see lines, and so then you can copy and paste that and put that into your own job description. So you start with, okay, just write a list. What are tasks and duties that I want to do? Look at job postings, things that are interesting to you. You add that to your own personal job description. And then also you might want to adapt some things that you see in job postings that match what you're currently able to do. And sometimes I have people write 2 job postings, what they want to do next and what they want to do 5-10 years from now. Often I'll have people start with the 5-10 years from now job, because then you can start thinking about, so what can I do next that moves me in that direction? So there's a lot of different ways of thinking about what you want to do. But when you're writing your job description for what you want to do next, make it something that you're currently able to do or able to do with a little bit of training. Or, if there's a little bit of a gap, then you can also go into like LinkedIn Learning, or our libraries often have skills and training online programs where you can learn for stuff, some of these things for free. And then you can put it on your resume as one of the skills or abilities that you have. So my career design studio, and Dan mentioned that my career design studio is free to all members of MPCA for 4 months. And in the follow-up email that we'll be sending to everybody who registered for this, I'll give you a link to sign up for my career design studio and a coupon code that you can use to get those 4 free months. And we'll be looking at my career design studio in just a moment to see how can it help you with writing your own job description. And then once you've written your job description, then you start thinking about, all right, so what are some job titles that fit this? And again, for some people that might be really super easy. For other people, it might be a little strange. But if you really want to do a lot of training, for example, then a trainer might be a job title that fits. If you really like talking to people and helping them overcome, challenges and problems, then a counselor or therapist might be a good fit. And so let's make things a little bit broader. If you like creating systems and processes and procedures, then that can be everything from an operations manager to a program manager to a project manager. And so sometimes one thing that can be really powerful is to have your job description without any sort of job title, and then give it to people who are in the field that you're interested in and ask them, what kind of jobs would allow me to do as many of these as possible? So for example, if you are not exactly sure how to do informational interviews or how to network, this is one strategy, is to, reach out to an RPCV who is doing something that's interesting or working for a company that's interesting to you. And then you can say, this is what I'm excited about doing. I don't really know what kind of job titles go with this. Do you have any ideas? And so then you're getting perspective from people who have a lot of experience. Okay, so what I want to do is not go into choosing organizations, but I want to share a new screen with you. And so this is my career design studio. And I just want to really quickly go through how this can help you with writing a job description. And so over on the left-hand side, these are all the activities that are available. There's more than 30. There's a ton of them that help you with every single aspect of your job search. But one of the things it's really good at is helping you to understand yourself a little bit better. And so there's a career assessment that you can take that gives you results on your personality, but also preferences, which is similar to a Myers-Briggs. And once you've taken your career assessment, then you can go through and see, okay, so what are the things that I really want to do? I want to work in a place that is in harmony with my own personal values and beliefs. And so what my career design studio gives you a list of things that people who score similarly to you are interested in. And then you select the things that are most important or most relevant to you. So what do you want in a job? What are your strengths? What are your challenges? And then various other aspects of a job, like what kind of work do you want to do? What's the context? Having face-to-face conversations, speaking to an audience, for example. What are some of the aspects that you would bring that you're good at, your work style? So being open to change and variety. So this just helps you, instead of starting with a blank slate of what am I good at or what do I want, then it gives you kind of a filtered list that can help you think through, oh, these are the things that are important to me. And then, again, different workability And so as you're going through this, the program keeps track of it. One of the things that it does is it keeps track of your strengths and challenges. And so some of the things that I recommend for people is to, when you look at your strengths, think about what do you want to, how do you want to transfer that into an activity. So for example, I'm really good at seeing the big picture and kind of how things fit together. And for me, I want to be able, so that translates into brainstorming and creating new products or new programs that meet a need that's out there. And so so even though seeing the big picture, that's not a task or a responsibility or a duty, but how can I turn that into something that I actually want to do? So empathizing with others, again, not very many job descriptions say we want you to empathize with others, but that certainly adds to me being a career coach. And for me to be able to understand where people are coming from, then I can develop ideas and programs that can help them. So, and to be honest, I've gone through this process, and that's why I do what I do, is because being a career consultant fits who I am and what I want to do. And I could, you know, for each one of these things, I can tell you how that fits into my current job. And so those are some of the things that can help you write your job description. Then if we go into the next section, the napkin sketch, this is where you start exploring the different options, and then you start prioritizing them. And so this helps you. So here we're actually getting into more tasks. And then we've got list of, okay, so what are the activities? Okay, I want to assist and care for others. I want to coach and develop others. Those are some things that I've selected. And so these are all things that can, again, really help you decide, what do I want to do on a daily basis? Then we can actually go to Indeed and look at job descriptions here. And so, so some of my past clients are really interested in political fundraising. And so what you can do is, oh, I really don't want us to be looking at unpaid jobs right now, but to see, okay, here's some of the primary responsibilities. Lead efforts to make sure a CFC is compliant with all laws, regulations. So any of these things that sound interesting to you, go on your job description. Okay. And so let's go back to the next step on how to give you more control and agency over your job search. So again, any questions that you have as we go along, please ask them, or any advice that you have for others as I'm talking, please put that in the chat box. So when it comes to choosing organizations that you want to work for, there are 3 important metrics that I want you to think about. And one is, do you want to work there? And, or maybe a better way of putting that is, how much do you want to work there? How desirable are they as an organization for you? And sometimes you got to dig a little deeper to find this out. You've got to go to their website. Even more importantly is talking to people who work there to see if they really, if the organization really has the values that they have on their website, because that's not always a given. And, or, you know, what's the work-life balance there? So these are some things that that again, when you're talking to your network, if you're wondering what kind of questions to ask, these are some really good ones. Once you have a clarity about what kind of organization you want to work for, then you can find out if this one fits what you're looking for. And so if you know somebody there, that Okay, so let me take a step back and to just say that if you are applying for a job that you're qualified for and somebody who works at that organization recommends you to the hiring manager or to HR, then your chance of getting an interview gets really, really close to 100%. So having someone advocate for you is one of the most effective ways of getting an interview. And that person can actually help you get an interview even if you might not be 100% qualified for the job. If they say, well, Sarah, for example, it has a capacity to learn this, has done something similar in the past, and I think that she would be really good. And so, so knowing someone there, especially if they can advocate for you, is a really good way of getting a job. And then the third metric is, are they actually hiring? And so this is actually a proxy for, do they have money? And so we were just looking at Indeed, and when I saw like all these unpaid internships or volunteer positions, those might not be the organizations that you want to focus on. They might give you experience, but they are most likely not going to be able to pay you. And even if you're volunteering for an organization, because volunteering can be a really great way of getting a job, it's in some ways like an extended interview. You want to volunteer for organizations that have the capacity to hire you. So even if they're applying or advertising for jobs that you don't want to do, just the fact that they are hiring generally means that they have cash. It's not guaranteed, but it's a good indicator. And so what I recommend is that you do a very quick, landscape search. Just get the lay of the land, find 40 organizations that you think might be interesting, and then you start ranking them and by these metrics. And so I actually have a spreadsheet template that that you will have access to, and I just want to share that with you really briefly. It's, this isn't anything fancy, but what this does is it tracks the organization that you're interested in, and you can keep notes. So this is one of my past clients that developed this. And then you start ranking it on how desirable. So is this your ideal organization? It gets a 3. If you're like, sure, I wouldn't mind working there, it gets a 2. If it is, I don't know, or, they're certainly lower on this list, then it gets a 1. Same with hiring. Are they hiring for your ideal job, for any job, or they're not? And do you know somebody there? Do you have second level connections with them, or you don't know anybody there? And then from there, you can sort by ranking from largest to smallest. And then you've got the top organizations that are most likely going to hire you. And so by doing this, not only have you kind of focused your job search on organizations you want to work for, but also the ones that are most likely to bring you on board. And so then that makes kind of the rest of your job search a little bit easier. And so is there anything else I want to say about this? Basically, I got this strategy from a book called The 4-Hour Job Search by, I believe it's Steve Dalton. And so if you want to learn more about, the philosophy and the strategies behind it, it's a really good book to read. It's a little outdated, and it doesn't use LinkedIn as much as I would recommend that you use LinkedIn, and is written for, college grads. But the strategy is super duper useful. And what he says is that you then start your networking your informational interviews with the people in your top 5. Actually, that's your top 4. So your top 5 organizations. And then if that doesn't move into something, then you keep going. And you basically keep going until you get a job. And when you're focusing on 40, when you have 40 organizations to go through that you then can keep adding to, then this makes your job search, again, much more effective, and it gives you a lot more agency. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. So then let's talk about, I'm talking about, so the top 5 organizations that, that you'd want to build relationships with. And so most likely your top 5 organizations, you already know somebody, or you know someone who knows somebody there. Or again, realize RPCVs are your network, and RPCVs are kind of everywhere. And so what I have found is that if you go to LinkedIn, and I'll show you how to do this really quickly, and look for someone who's doing the kind of work that you want to do, and is working for a specific organization that you want to work for, then that is a really good person to reach out to. And I just want to add on to what Dan and Sarah have said in the chat, is that what people have been finding is that right now during COVID is a really good time to be networking. That part of it is a little sad. We don't have as much stuff to do that we did before. And so if you are anxious or uncomfortable about asking for people for favors, this is a time to start developing that muscle, that skill, because what you're really looking for is that person in that organization who's going to advocate for you. And one of the things that makes a good advocate is that they innately enjoy helping people. And so the only way to find those people is to ask them for help. And if they say yes, chances are they'll be a good advocate for you. And so I think a lot of us get in our own way of not wanting to ask for advice, not wanting to ask for help because we feel like we're going to be a burden. But you've got to remember, and the percentages is, between 20 and 25% of the population are people who enjoy helping people. And so that means that if you send out 10 emails, that you're only going to get 1 to 2 responses back from them, but those responses are going to be really valuable for you. So, so you're looking for advocates. You're not trying to trick people into helping you. You're looking for people that innately enjoy doing that. And again, RPCVs, that tends to be one of our things. Is, we became volunteers because we want to make a difference. And if we can make a difference to someone in our tribe, oftentimes we will do exactly that. The other thing that's going to be really helpful for you and be effective in building these relationships is just to understand, what exactly do you want to get out of that particular conversation? The conversations are going to evolve. Sometimes you're going to start with, hey, I want to learn more about your organization or your job. And then 2 months later, you're going to come back and say, hey, actually, I'm really excited to work for your organization, and I want to be a trainer or a program manager. What advice do you have for me to position myself so that I can do that work? And then the third conversation might be, thank you so much for everything that you've told me so far. I've just applied for a job, and if you feel comfortable, I'd really appreciate it if you spoke to the hiring manager or to HR and just put in a good word for me. And so then you're building a relationship that can very easily lead to you getting an interview. And obviously, interview, one of the best ways of getting a job. So if you're just looking for information, then be clear about what information you're looking for, write that up, have that be a part of your conversation when you reach out to people. If you're looking for advice, again, what kind of advice are you looking for? Or are you looking for leads? And those can be job leads, those can be what organizations do you think I should be looking at? That can be who else should I be talking to? And really at the end of any kind of conversation that you're having, when you are doing kind of networking and community building, I always recommend that you ask, who else should I be talking to? And can you give me an introduction to that person? Because, and, someone mentioned in the chat that, that you've done everything that you know what to do, and now you're stuck. What else can I do? Basically, talk to more people, or go back to people that you've already talked to and ask them to give you some introductions. And so this is something like, it doesn't matter what jobs are out there or being posted, there's always somebody else that you can talk to. There's always somebody else that you can approach. And just like the organization spreadsheet, as you're going down that, if the top 5 organizations don't lead to anything, then move on to the next. With people, it's the same thing. If you're not getting the kinds of leads or advice that you're looking for, then ask for somebody else that might be helpful. And then following up. So the other thing, I tend not to use the word networking because it conjures up the wrong images. Number one, it sounds like you're trapped in a net and that you're working really hard to get out of it. So the word itself is very negative from my perspective. And then, so Sarah, I did see your comment, and I'll be happy to go back. But the other thing too is that what you want to do is build a relationship. So it's not just a one-way street, and relationships require attention. And so you want to stay connected. You don't want to hound people, and you don't want to, to stalk them, but you do want to send them an email every once in a while, thinking of you. I saw an article that I thought you might be interested in, or just want to let you know that I'm still looking for jobs. And so that's one of the ways that you keep the connections that you've already built. You keep those alive, you keep them warm, you keep yourself top of mind. And also, as you're talking to people, you want to listen for what they're looking for. And so if there's a way that you can be helpful for them, again, that's what friends do. We take care of each other. So ask for the help and support that you need, but also look for ways that you can be helpful and supportive as well. And that also helps with our own sense of guilt. And then again, remind people of what you're looking for, whether it's a job, advice, or information. And just, like I said, reach out respectfully. And so informational interviewing, networking, all of this is kind of, intermediate job searching. And I have done some past webinars on building your network, and so that might be something to look out for. I will include some of those resources in our follow-up email. But really, even though I gave you a bunch of information and talked really fast while I was doing it, what I want you to take away from this is just be clear about what you want and to ask for help. Okay, so basically, I know that there's a few questions, and I'll go back and talk about some things some more. So Sarah, if you can just write in the chat box, what do you want me to go over again? Is it, you know, how to reach out to people or anything like that? That would be helpful for me. But what you can do going forward is there is an interactive career guide that is done through email that is free for everybody. And so I'll give you a link to sign up for that. And then also a link to sign up for my career design studio, so that you can start doing some of those activities that I went through. And again, they're very, very holistic. And then the organization spreadsheet, and then you can also join my Facebook group that gives you some, you know, very discrete daily tasks for you to do. So what I actually want to do in response to your question, Sarah, is to go to LinkedIn. And no, that's not what I want to do. We want LinkedIn. Okay. So if you're looking for people that you want to connect with, let's say that you know what you want to do, that you want to do you want to be a program officer. And so you look for that in people, because if you're looking for people that have the job title of program officer, then you can then sort that by companies that you want to work for. So the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, for example. And you can also then go to all filters and go to past companies and choose Peace Corps and apply that. And then we've got 37 people who have worked at Peace Corps who are related to that organization that you're interested in working for and doing the kind of work that you want to do. And so let's say that Jeremiah Grossman is someone that you want to talk to. Then what I recommend is, number one, to see if you can get a work email by Googling his name, Jeremiah Grossman, an email address, and see if that gives you a direct way to connect with him, because not everybody checks LinkedIn. And then if you can't find that, then you can actually, you know, go to the connect button, and then you obviously want to write a note. Okay, so what would the note say? It would be something like, I am, you know, an recently evacuated Peace Corps volunteer or an RPCV, and I'm really interested in the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and I'm wondering if you have 15 minutes to talk to me. And, you know, or make it a little bit more specific, 15 minutes in the next 2 weeks to talk to me and just give me some advice. That's really it. You want to keep it short and sweet and to the point. You don't have to go on and on and on about how much you love them or how much you love the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They're not going to read that. But, and again, you're not, if Jeremiah doesn't respond to you, then you've got Douglas or Sejay or Kedar. And so you can just keep going down that list. So basically, if to build your network, LinkedIn is one of the best databases of people and companies that you can imagine. One other thing that I want to show is that the other thing that you can do is take away the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and just, so if you're interested in being a program officer, hey, I want to take that away. There we go. Then you can sort by location. So if you're in the Washington, D.C. area, this is a really great way to find organizations. So anyone who, now 2,600 people that have the job title you're looking for. Actually, that's an exaggeration. It's not quite that many, but that are in the area, have that job title, and you've got a ton of organizations that you might not have heard about before. So Room to Read, International Reproductive Health, Results for Development. So if you're struggling with getting to 40 organizations, LinkedIn is a really great way of doing that. Okay. So Dan, are there any questions that I've missed? Anything else that you would like me to talk about?
No questions that you haven't seen there, Rhonda, already, but one thing that just occurs to me as I'm listening to you and watching you go through these LinkedIn contacts for networking is the difference between a second-degree contact and a third-degree contact, and how you would approach someone who it's pretty easy in my mind. You have a shared contact for someone with 2 degrees of separation, but if you're only showing 3 or more degrees of separation, how would you manage that?
And honestly, I think that, kind of doing the cold email that I talked about is a really effective way of doing it. And so you want to start with what you have in common. You're both RPCBs. And then you want to basically give your ask. And one thing that I also want to tell you is in my career design studio, it actually does give you a template that you can use. So if you go to my career creation tools, my approach to potential partners, if you go to the information button, then you here's that's as far as how to and so just a couple of examples directly from Sincere, and by saying if we're unable to connect by email, I'll try to reach you out next week to see if that is more convenient. So sometimes, Dan, to answer your question, going through a contact can actually make things harder because you're dependent on them to give you that introduction. So sometimes it's just easy to go directly to the person, but say, put the connection first. So we both know so-and-so, and that person suggested that I reach out to you if they did. And then just kind of go on from there. So
that is super helpful. I'm sorry, that template is so cool.
Yes.
I remember it. It's really cool.
It's not rocket science. Yeah.
I think I saw Brett maybe wanted to. I saw your video come on there for a second. Or anyone else. Mm-hmm. Amy, thank you for your comment. I agree. That was really enlightening to see the demonstration there. But kind of are at the end here. Any final questions for Rhonda?
Yeah. Yep, I've got a little bit more time, so if there's anything else, and good. I'm glad that this is helpful. There's yeah, I always have more stuff that I want to share than I have time for. That's why I do multiple webinars, and that's why MPCA does multiple webinars, and that got a we've got everything up on YouTube, just like this is going to be. And so I did want to just go back quickly and just see. So I hope that I answer some questions about how to do the job search during the time of COVID. And basically, like I said, now's actually a really special time to be doing your networking. So please take advantage of that. And and so I also, for the people that are feeling stuck, like, I don't know what to do next, then again, I hope that this was helpful. Whether that's to sign up for my career design studio, because that's going to walk you through the entire process, or to just think through, well, I haven't gotten back in touch with this person I talked to 5 months ago. Maybe I can do that. So is there anything else?
Rhonda, I think you said in the follow-up email we'll include the coupon code, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, and generally we send that out the day after, especially, once we've converted the video to YouTube. And then, so you'll get all this information, all the links that I talked about, a link to the spreadsheet. And so just one thing that I want to say, it's a tough time right now. And that, when you're job searching, when there's so much uncertainty about when is the economy going to get better, when is the virus going to go away, it's really easy to feel like you're alone, and to just kind of not know, to feel like, I don't know what else I can do right now. And so a couple of things about that is, sometimes you do have to take a break. Sometimes you do have to let your mind reset. So if you're feeling really stuck and climbing back into the job searching, hamster wheel, if that's what it feels like, sometimes that feels like it's too much. And so I want you to give yourself time to take a break, but then also to know that what I recommend as your next step is to ask for support. And MPCA, we have a lot of volunteer mentors. We have these webinars, and then, we have each other. So please reach out for any kind of support that you need. We know that this is tough, and we are really, really committed to making sure that you get the support that you need. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. And we've got a lot of different things that we can offer. And so again, we are your advocates. Let us help you. And so that's how I'd like to end this.